want to continue our conversation about the Super Tuesday and get the Republican perspective on all of this. A new poll from the New York Times and Siena College finds that Donald Trump is leading President Biden by 4 points, with 48% of the registered voters saying that they would vote for the former president if the 2024 presidential election were held today. That's compared to 44% who said that they would vote for President Biden. We want to welcome in Keith Nahigian. He's a Republican strategist and president of Nahigian Strategies. He worked on six presidential campaigns. He has the stories to tell. You know, obviously we've been watching this Republican primary process. We started off with a large field. It's pretty much just down now to Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. Are you surprised at how quickly the other Republicans in this race fell off?
I am. But the difference is having a sitting former president on the ballot makes it very hard for other opponents to create messaging of an alternative vision when the former president had already a record of, a lot of people say, of success in many areas.
One of the concerns for Republicans now who are looking at how this primary is laid out is that Donald Trump is winning all of Donald Trump's supporters, that Nikki Haley is drawing votes that could possibly go to the Democrats in the fall. How big of a problem is that? Is that on the GOP radar screen right now?
I think they're focusing on it, and I think after Super Tuesday, when she's out of the race, well, it's up to her to decide, obviously, but if she is, then they'll start pivoting to that positive message to get those voters over to his side.
But does Trump have to go out and start winning independents? Is that, you know, when he goes out in Virginia over the weekend and says, we are now a MAGA party, that's not exactly an outreach to independents.
Right. I think his shift will occur probably after next Tuesday. But yeah, getting those other voters, he needs every one of them, but he is leading in, you referenced a national poll, he's leading in most of the swing states, especially Michigan is a big swing state that occurred this week, and the delegates were awarded last night.
All right, so Keith, talk to me about Nikki Haley. She says she's going to stay in through Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, what is the end game there on Nikki Haley, and is there, you know, any possibility that she's still sticking around when the Republicans go to Milwaukee this summer?
Yeah. So running for president is a very personal decision, and it's sometimes easier to get into the race than it is to get out. You need to listen to the people who love and care about you to get out, and a lot of times they're surrounded by vendors and people who work for them that want the race to keep going, and I think she's surrounded by those types of people. She needs to make that personal decision whenever that occurs, but a lot of times people have said, well, maybe she can run as a third party. That's actually not the case. There's sore loser laws in these states that don't allow her to run after this, so she would have to take whatever message to the convention. But so, she doesn't have any delegates.
Yeah, and to be clear, she can't wake up on, you know, not so Super Wednesday and say, well, I'm going to be an independent now. I'm going to run my own campaign. It doesn't work like that.
She can't get on the ballot, and a lot of times the deadlines for getting on the ballot as a third party have already expired. You see Senator Robert Kennedy getting on the ballot January, February, March. That's when that occurs, so she won't be able to do it. Plus, there's about 27 states that have sore loser laws that prohibit her from doing that.
What do you make of Robert F. Kennedy? Because we haven't talked a lot about him, you know, on this program. But, you know, those who will remember back in 2000 that Ralph Nader did wind up playing a significant role in Bush and Gore. Could Robert F. Kennedy wind up filling a similar position? And is it all clear where his general election vote would pull from?
I think it pulls mainly from Biden, but pulls from people who are just enchanted with maybe two candidates. I think the Democrats made a critical error when they weren't taking this primary seriously of pushing him out of the party. We mentioned the sore loser laws. If they would have kept him in the primary, it would have kept Biden really sharp in a competitive race, and then it would have prohibited him from running in the general election. So right now he's pulling, RFK is pulling 17 to 20%. That is a gigantic unreported number, and in some of these key states, it's a big deal, and he mainly pulls from Biden.
And that could be a difference maker in November. It really doesn't amount to anything right now, but as we look to the fall, that could be huge.
Way bigger than Nader, Ross Perot. This is way bigger, and it hasn't been reported. In these swing states, his appeal and being on the ballot is a really big deal to pull from, and I don't think they've taken him seriously. They should have from the very beginning, and I think they made a critical error. They look back and lose.
In the past, third-party candidates, whether it's John Anderson or Ross Perot, who ultimately did not get elected president, they were afforded positions at presidential debates. Is there any thought to whether or not Kennedy could get to the point where he would be in the middle of one of these debates?
He could. I mean, if he qualifies on the Libertarian Party, he's on all the ballots across the country, and he's polling over a certain percentage. He basically qualifies to be on that stage.
A lot of moving parts. Thank you so much for your analysis.
Great
Keith Nahigian joining us live this Sunday morning. We'd love to have you back as this rolls out. All right, continuing on this Sunday morning, we're going to sit down with Lithuania's ambassador to the United States, hear why funding the Ukraine matters so much to her country. Fox Eyes on the Hill continues live right after this.